Welcome to the Miners Coffee Podcast, the show where we'll bring you the best of coffee, entrepreneurship, success, and urban lifestyle. I'm Sarah, full-time coffee fanatic, former barista, and now your host. Together, we'll take a deep dive into what makes the Miners and other companies like it stand apart from the rest. We'll look at how businesses grow from an idea you had just before bed into internationally known enterprises. We'll interview the people who lead the charge and learn what makes them tick. And hopefully, by the end of it, you may be just so inspired to go out and create something from nothing yourself. Hey everyone, welcome back to Chats Over Coffee with the Miners. If you've ever visited us, you know that we take design seriously. So when planning our bakery location, we wanted it to be something really special. That's why we asked today's guest, architect David Neuhäusl of Neuhäusl Hunal studio, to give us a hand. In addition to architecture, he has a degree in international business and engineering, and as part of his PhD studies at the Czech Technical University, he researched public housing development. You can see his work all across Czech Republic and even at this year's Architecture Biennale in Venice. So welcome, David. Thanks for joining us. And how are you?
Hi, Sarah. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm great. Having a good time. Great coffee. Wonderful.
Great. We're so happy to have you. I was really excited for today's interview because since moving to Prague, I've really started to appreciate architecture more and more. I love that I can walk around the city and see so many different eras of architecture. And as a photographer, it's definitely become one of my favorite subjects to shoot. I've also taught some writing workshops with architecture students and even did a little bit of research on the architecture of health or psychiatry for my master's thesis. So I feel like I've really been on the peripheral of architecture. I really am interested in it, but I don't know so much about the ins and outs of the industry or what it even day-to-day looks like for an architect. So maybe then we could start by you sharing a little bit about yourself, how you became an architect, why, and yeah.
Okay, easy question for the beginning. Well, if I look back into my high school years, I had no idea about the discipline of architecture until like I was 16 or 17. Mm-hmm. I thought it's just something with geometry, and I had really no idea what does it mean. And then I started to a little bit understand it through the thing that I was kind of a fan of a street culture, skateboarder. So you start to understand the city and the city landscape in a different way, and you start to really like it and love it, and you are living in the streets kind of. And then I was at a specific exhibition where I saw some comics about architecture. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, so this is the process behind the buildings, and the buildings can be really interesting, and you are really shaping the city and everything. So it kind of started fascinating me at that age, but I was still not. I thought that I will never be able to be architect, because I was always told that you had to be a perfect drawer and stuff like that. I was like, okay, I can't draw actually, so I can't be architect. So I was like, that would be nice, but I just passed it because I was like, no, that's not possible. It just there wasn't an idea of trying. So I started to study absolutely different universities. Mm-hmm. And then in my first year, I was speaking to my friend, and nowadays my partner from the studio, Matěj Hunal, and he was applying to architecture, and I was like, hey, you can't apply to architecture, you can't draw. I was like, nah, man, I just learned to draw, but now we have computers, and the computers do all the important stuff, all the drawing. So you don't have to be so good. You just need to learn it for the admissions. I was like, wow, okay. So then I should give it a try. So yeah, I gave it a shot, and it kind of went on, and now I'm here.
Nice. Because I think I also thought about doing every single profession I think ever. I've really gone through this like process of elimination to decide what I want to do and who I want to be. But I think architecture was definitely one of the stops that I made. And I thought that you had to be good at drawing, but also math. Would you say math is a big part of it?
I think it's one of the biggest cliche that you have to be great at math and great at drawing.
Yeah.
You should have analytical thinking, so you should be able to understand math and engineering at least a little bit.
Mhm.
But definitely it's not like that if you are good at math and if you are good at drawing, you will be good architect, because it's such a multifaceted discipline
Mhm.
that it can't be wrapped just into these two. And I think it's a little bit this cliche, it's a little bit doing like bad service to the discipline and for the young people who are trying to attend it.
Yeah, because I really wish that, I mean, in general, I feel like it would have been nice in high school if there were more like workshops or classes about different professions so you could see what it would actually mean to do that. Because, yeah, deciding at 18 what you're going to
I
be.
couldn't agree more. I had really no idea about architecture whatsoever.
Mhm.
And even though then I found out, wow, architecture is about this and I maybe love it and I want to do it, I still had no idea what really architecture is until like my fourth, fifth year, when you read a lot of books and you try to find what's about it. And I'm still definitely, I didn't want to say that in my fifth year I started to know what architecture is. I'm still searching for it, still searching for the sense and for the meaning and trying to define it for myself. But what I wanted to say, that it would be great that exactly as you are speaking about it in high school, if you had opportunity to hear about architecture, what it's about a little bit. And I'm really happy that now it's happening. I have also one friend from Brno who is actually doing this and who is going to high schools and giving short lectures about architecture, about urban planning, urban design, and trying to tell the people, the students, what are the possibilities. I think this is one of the best things you can actually do for the architecture and for the society.
Yeah, of course. Because I thought it was mostly, like I said, math and maybe drawing. But then I got
Geometry.
kind of in geometry.
Yeah.
And kind of got confused where like the line was between even like construction and development, engineering, architects, like really all of the divisions. But maybe you need a little bit of a background in all of them. Or what would you say is like the biggest skills or qualities that you should have then to be an architect?
You need to understand a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Because you are coordinating, you are communicating, and that's really the crucial part of architecture if you want something to happen from whatever role you can take in architecture, as a designer, as someone working for public sector, as a politician. You need to be able to communicate and to understand things.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like the how to say it, like a popular saying would say that as an engineer you need to understand one thing perfectly. As architect you need to perfectly understand a lot of disciplines, just a little bit from something, from every one of them.
Yeah, so it's very interdisciplinary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what is not being spoken about enough is the social responsibility and the social part of architecture, because we are designing for people, we are designing in a certain society, and if we don't understand the society we are designing for, then we are missing the most important context there is.
Yeah, that's why I think, I just finished art school. I graduated in June. And my bachelor's was in science. And I thought I wanted to be a doctor, decided to go a different route. But even at the end of my master's, I realized that I still wanted to do some kind of creative work or art, but that had a benefit towards society.
Yes.
And I think the fine arts definitely, in a way, benefits society. But I think I was looking at more of a tangible way to make some kind of difference. So I really started to be interested in architecture, design. I was looking at the architecture of hospitals, and this was really interesting to me. So for me, I've definitely looked at more of like the societal side of it. But I don't know, like if you asked me what movement this building was from, I'm not sure I could say that exactly, but I'm really interested in like the concept of space and what it means to have, like you were looking at public versus private space.
Yeah, exactly.
And more of like the built environment, I guess.
Yeah. That's really important thing because it's connected to economics, to politics, to the society as a whole. And as one famous urbanist, Jan Gehl, says, we shape our cities and then our cities shape us. Yeah, so there's everything.
Yeah, so that sounds like that there's a lot of responsibility on architects to help make societies healthy, happy. Do you agree, or do you think they're just one small part?
I do agree. When I think about it, I think that there is a choice you can make as an architect. You can take the responsibility, take the projects according to it, and think about it that way, or you don't have to necessarily. You can really be a service, wait for a client to come. Client says, I want this, and you're like, all right, fine, I'll just draw it. A lot of clients would like that. And it depends on your personal attitude and everything, how you want to treat the world we are living in.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could think that then of a lot of creative fields, like, for example, graphic design. You know, a lot of graphic designers are actually out there preparing PowerPoint slides. You know, they aren't designing a new book or even maybe a website. Like there's more, I guess, commercial route of things where you can have a routine and stability. And I think maybe the more creative you are or the more aspirational you are in your own endeavors or what you would like to see, maybe this is a different path.
This go against to the topic of a client, because the client is the crucial person of the process of creating the built environment. And even though we take all the responsibility in the world, still it's not only on us unless we are the client and we are paying for it.
True.
Because there is someone else who has to say yes and who has to pay for it, whether it's society, it's public sector, it's private sector. So then there is the question of client. Sometimes the client doesn't really want an expertise or doesn't want other opinion, or let's say he or she just wants to make things done in his way, and in sometimes it's absolutely legit thing, and that's fine. If I go back to the graphic designers, which are our very favorite profession, and we love to work with them, because when we work with graphic designers, we switch the roles. And whether they are creating our own studio identity or we are creating identities for some venues we are doing, for new bars or bistros or cafes, I really like when the positions changed and I am the client, and I am just giving the brief. And then I really enjoy that I give them a free hand, I give them free will, and I let them I let them work. I do not draw it for them and then just like make it happen.
Yeah.
And then they bring something, and then there starts the creative process of there and back again of the conversation, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what we like, what we only like or don't like, because we are not professionals in graphic design. So we have a right just to not like something.
Yeah, of course.
But I really like the moment when there is the creativity on someone else, and I can look forward what he or she will bring, and then we can discuss it and move it a little bit further. And when this happens with us and with our clients, when we are the creative part, not the client, then it's wonderful. When you understand with your client and you have a great communication and everything, then the process is really a joy.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can be particularly empathetic to this because of your profession. I think you understand that it is about the client. And so you have to do this back and forth. And I think it's also maybe a lot about ego, is how much you
yes.
are willing to let go of your ego and really deliver whatever it is that the client wants. But I think also in the same vein, sometimes the client doesn't know, or you do have the expertise and you could maybe turn their idea into something better. So how do you handle this?
It's again like in the beginning, it's about communication, communication,
Mhm.
communication. It's like my internal joke, because developers always say, when you ask developers, what or developers like to say that if you have to say three parameters that affects the most the price of building or immobilities, they say it's locality, locality, locality.
Yeah.
So I say that in the process of architecture is communication, communication, communication. And sometimes it just doesn't work. And it's all right. And then it's good to understand it, to speak about it, and to say, okay, we don't understand each other.
Mhm.
And it's absolutely all right then to split the ways or the part the ways of both sides, and to change it. Yeah, but I think that one part of the architect's or any creative or any professional responsibility is to educate your client.
Mhm.
It's for the doctors, it's for the graphic designers, architects, politicians. You need to explain yourself and why are you doing what you are doing.
Yeah, of course. And I guess, I mean, it depends on the client. Some would be more open to being educated than others.
Definitely. And I would say that you can never, the time you give to understand in the beginning of the process with your client, you can never give enough attention to that,
Mhm.
because it's really crucial. And if you start from the right spot and you understand each other, then it's wonderful. And it's really good not to be hasty in that part of the process.
Yeah.
Let's say, what are the aims? Where are we going? How do we work? What do you expect from us? Yeah, and but still the communication has to be open. Things can change, and it's natural.
And would you say this being able to communicate, was it something that you learned on the job, or do they talk about it in school? Because I feel like, school's usually known for teaching you maybe the technical and the theory, but not always maybe the application or like what it will actually look like to work with a client.
Well, definitely it didn't happen at my school when I was studying. Definitely. I know that there are some courses being taught now at different universities in the Czech Republic about communication of architecture, about speaking to clients. Something, it's not something huge, but it's there,
Mhm.
and there is being growing discussion on this, about communicating, about price making, about actually the entrepreneurship of architecture on the schools. And there's a huge discussion about this.
Yeah. Actually, now that I think of it, I was saying that I was teaching these writing workshops at I think was the Technical University in Brno,
Mhm.
but the architecture faculty. And I was there with Carolina
Okay.
and another graphic designer. And so Carolina, is a journalist, and Clara was the graphic designer, and I am native English speaker. So we kind of paired up and would do these writing workshops where we would help specifically architecture students present their work. And I saw that a lot of them, I mean, it depends on the audience, right? But a lot of them would describe like to the T every single material and like really technical qualities of the spaces they were designing, which is great. But as for me, who is not an architect, half of it really meant almost nothing at all. So we really worked on trying to write and communicate in a way that is helpful based on your audience. It was
yeah, generally, if
process.
you are writing about architecture or project, it's not about describing the materials or the constructions. It's about the thought. It's about the concept. It's about the idea. It's about why. Why is that happening? Why am I designing it this way? And then you can go to what and how. But to understand this, it's more about going to thinking about the meaning
or the feeling it will have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I could imagine lots of clients describing something as like, I want it to have this vibe or this feeling, or
yeah, that happens often, and it helps. It's
yeah,
good
does it help?
It's good to know what the client wishes, and if he or she doesn't wish anything and leaves it to us, that's also fine. Yeah, we can handle that. We can come up with the idea. Sometimes we go against it and we are like, okay, so you have this idea, we understand it, but for this space, for this place, for this function, for this context, maybe it's not so ideal. Maybe there is some better approach we can find, and let's have a look at some references. Let's think about it. Let's draw something, and let's speak about it. Maybe we can change your mind, and sometimes it happens.
Yeah. And I mean, as a studio, you have, I would say, a pretty defined aesthetic or style. I feel like from the projects I've seen, there's a lot of use of like raw materials, lots of cement and tiling. I love the tiling that I've seen in all of your projects. So do you think it's the client knowing you and what your studio does, and so they come to you, or how does that process work of getting clients? Like,
yeah, thank you. Thank you in the first way. It's very individual. Sometimes the clients really come knowing the references are projects and are like, okay, we we really love this project you did here and this project there, and we would love to have something similar. Yeah. And that's wonderful, because from the beginning you know that you are not gonna fight fight about the concept or something, but also a lot of times happen that sometimes somebody comes from recommendation, for example, not even looking at our portfolio or something, and I need architect, I need service, so you are architect, and then they are sometimes a little bit surprised what they can see. But if both sides are open-minded, then it's absolutely fine. But on the other hand, now it happened a few weeks ago that we got a new client who was really like this example I was speaking about. Like, we really love your work, literally, which was really nice, and we were really happy for it. And we love this and this and this, and could you work for us? We're like, yeah, sure.
So that's nice when it's a bit more straightforward.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe I obviously gave my impression of what the projects I've seen and what your work is like. But maybe you could tell us a little bit about your style.
Yeah, I think it's not about exactly style of design. I would say that it's a style of thinking, approach of thinking. What is important for us is, I would say, clarity. It's a clarity of the concept of the space, and I don't want to be too much general, because we are speaking from urban design projects and urban planning projects through housing to interior design. So I can't really wrap it up, but if you go to the the core. For me, architecture means thinking. It's a complex structure of things and or of a systems. Whether you are designing a new neighborhood or whether you are designing a new cafe, and I would say that the goal for us is to understand the essence of the place, the essence of the function, the context, the social context, the build context, and really, as in this Spike Lee joint, we are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, which is not always easy, I'm guessing.
No, it's always or sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it comes just like this, and then it's really nice. Sometimes we have to really go through a lot of dead ends and try to find the best solution, but that's the part of the job. And actually, the searching is really the interesting part.
Yeah, you like this part?
Yeah. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I mean, like we were saying before, if there's the client that's coming to you and kind of knows what they want, for example, I think Myers came to you and you decided how to make the cat or the bakery location.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can tell us about that. Maybe it wasn't so straightforward.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking about the miners in Karlín, there was no question about the program, about the function. That was clear because the guys have a lot of experience and they know exactly what they need and everything, which is great. Generally, it's really nice to work with experienced people from gastro because they are professionals. They know how to respect other professions and they are being respected. So always this coordination and cooperation is very smooth. And speaking about this specific project, we have never been before designing something into a newly built administrative building, which is where you have just two walls. And the facades, both facades are completely glass. Yeah. So that was for the first time, and we were thinking how to work with it. So first thing was that this possibility of look through the both facades, some kind of quality which we want to keep there to understand the space, that it's like the light flows absolutely through. So we didn't want to block it. And as the new miners in Karlín, it's a cafe and the bakery, and the bakery needs a really lot of backstage space. You need the machines there. You need to keep the stuff there and everything. So the idea was not to create some small cramped space, but to keep the light and the air flowing. So we came up after a few variants. We came up with this concept like a house in the house. So we put this strict, clear, yellow tiled cube in the middle. Where is everything? Where are the toilets? Where is the kitchen? Where is the bakery and everything? And we just left this cube to define the spaces around it. So it created a lot of really different and cute spaces. I would say that you have high sitting here, then you have low round tables here, then you have a bench here, and every type of seating is different. There is not two spaces that would be the same, which comes from the characteristics of the floor plan. Because it's the floor plan of the original building is kind of flowing and diagonal and everything, and we put there like a strict square cube. Yeah, so that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I really love the space. I love the tile, and I mean, for me, I knew that the bakery was going to be this like open kind of concept where you could see what was going on. And so it's nice also that that continues to the facades being glass also. So it's like
Yeah,
Inception.
yeah, that's a good notion. Definitely the openness. That if you go from the back facade, from the courtyard of the house, you can see the backstage of the bakery, and also in the house. In the house, you have the windows where you can see the bakers baking, because you have different temperatures. If you are creating the dough, you have to have different temperature than for the guests. So it's really behind the glass windows. And yeah, again, house in the house, and the idea of openness, and not rawness here, but we also like the raw materials and showing like the truth is our favorite concept. But here is about watching.
Yeah. Cool. And I don't know if you're allowed to say, but what do you think of the entire building there? This new again, they're mostly apartments, right? And then the businesses on the bottom.
I'm not honestly, I'm not really a fan of the building.
Yeah.
I think that the architecture is quite mediocre. There is this, I can feel this try to have a concept of these units. Okay, fair enough. I'm fine with it. I don't want to be like only negative. So the courtyard, I think, has a good potential. That there is a really public space flowing through the both masses, and it's creating something there, and it has some potential. So like hands down, this is fine, and I kind of like the play with the public space. What I honestly really don't like, and I really think is fail, is the art there. The statues, I think it's really shame.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
no, I definitely agree. And I'm always hesitant to say it because I don't know how the other person feels, but I really don't like it at all. I mean, maybe the one in the middle, the arm, is not so offensive
it's
to me.
It's not such a shame. Yeah, exactly. First thing is that the whole concept that there is like a huge giant who is like holding the building. It's like if we were in the third year at university, I would be like, yeah, nice, cool, whatever. But we are not at school anymore. And second, like this infamous statue of the woman, that's like the residue of 90s, which should have never happened here. Yeah, I think it's really a disgrace to architecture and to art, and yeah, really not fan.
Yeah, but I also wonder how the people feel that are living in those specific units, like if they could even see out the window there. It seems like this massive woman may be obstructing some people's view. But yeah, I mean, that is though what I like about Prague is that I can think of some examples of architecture that are maybe like one of the coolest or nicest I've ever seen. And then I can also think of lots that aren't my favorite, but like I've come to like them in a more emotional way, but like Panelaki, I think it's so funny to me that there are so many colors and even like patterns painted onto Panelaki. And I respect like what they did, their history, but that's really, I mean, we don't have something like that in the US so much.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And then also I live in Prague 10, so not so far away from the Don Giovanni Hotel.
Yeah.
And I mean, I already knew how I felt about this building, but then hearing that it was named like one of the ugliest buildings in Prague is...
Yeah. Don Giovanni is a fascinating thing because it's a pure kitsch. It's a pure kitsch, and it's not about aesthetics or something. It's about trying to be something what is not. And I got a gift from my friends, ironical gift. I got one night in Don Giovanni because they know that I'm really really not a fan of the building, and I think it's one of the worst buildings. It's like a Ronald McDonald among the buildings, and so we have slept over there, sleep over there, and
the inside's even worse, though, right?
It's even worse.
Yeah.
It's even worse, and the floor plans are absolutely terrible. Like everything, but I have to say it's consistent. Everything is absolutely terrible.
Well, yeah, I guess there's something to say for consistency then.
Actually, do you know that on the facades, that the most dark brown parts, it's supposed to be butterfly?
No.
No, it's even worse.
Okay, now I will have to see it when I go home and see it. I've never distinguished any butterflies.
Yeah. Huh. It's the most fun part is that the architect of this building, he's very proud of it, and he thinks that he's bringing back art into architecture, and he feels like he's like doing this Baroque, amazing architecture, and he's like, he hates modernism, he hates everything modern, and he's like doing the real thing. Well, I don't agree personally.
Yeah, well, neither do I. So you're in what I think is good company, but or maybe I'm in good company. That would make more sense. But okay, so if these are some of your least favorite things, maybe you can tell us some of your favorite, and they can be either your own projects or just other projects around Prague or even Czech Republic that have really inspired you and your work.
Yeah, definitely I have to say Federální shromáždění, the building of Federal Gathering or Formal Parliament on Wenceslav Square, on Václavské náměstí from Karel Prager, which is absolutely genius building. And I remember that I used to kind of hate it, as a lot of I would say normal people do. But then in 2010 I was at a lecture about it, and I also did some research in part of my summer job about the building, and I understood why is it looking like that. And then I found out that it's absolutely that's absolute masterpiece.
Yeah,
that's really the part of the like world-class architecture in the Czech Republic, I would say. And it's you would say it's brutal, but if you understand it, then it's, on the other hand, it's more subtle and gentle than you would guess. But you really need to understand why, and you also it's also about the aesthetics, and you need to learn the aesthetics. Generally, people have to. I don't mean that you have to, but to understand something, you have to grow into the aesthetics, into modernism, postmodernism. If you go back to all the historical styles and everything, you can't say that there is a good or bad. They are just different. They are kind of a reflection of their own times, and of the values of the times. And you need to try to understand the values and to understand the times, and then kind of get it. So now I'm trying not to bias myself with thinking in styles, because I know that I can already now watch myself that something what I was hating 10 years ago, now I'm understanding it, and I know that it will happen in 10 years again, and then again, and then again. So now I'm trying not to look at the buildings in the aesthetics way, but really try to understand the process. And also, sorry, one thing, that okay. You have to get used to it. It takes time. It definitely takes time to like, as every fashion. It's just a slower fashion.
Yeah. That's what I think I meant about the panelaki. Like, for me, they've grown on me in a way that I can appreciate them. I aesthetically, like, wise, I wouldn't probably choose this. but I can appreciate it now.
When I somewhere walk and I run into original panelák, which is not covered with this ridiculous drawings and colors and everything, it's beautiful. You can see the tectonics. You see the meaning of the building, how it really works. You see the beautiful stones in the panels and the concrete, and it's wonderful. On the other hand, I absolutely understand that the paneláks, this prefabricated building and housing, they were absolutely not perfect.
Yeah,
absolutely not. They had a lot of problems with the public space, with no public services, amenities, stuff like that. But unfortunately, we are a little bit going from one side to the opposite, from extremes.
Yeah.
You know, so I understand that when there were everywhere was gray and just great paneláks everywhere. Right. It was even in the rap songs and everywhere. It's just the grayness of the projects. The aesthetics is everywhere the same. If you look at any grime music videos from London, you have the brutalism there, you know, and this kind of like neglected aesthetics of the street life. So the people were like, no, we want more colors. But now it goes to the absolutely opposite extreme. But you can see how you can work with these housings and to give them much more qualities and aesthetics. But you don't have to create clowns from these buildings.
Yeah. I mean, we can see it in all facets of life, right? That when you've gone so far one way, politics, whatever, all swing another way.
Exactly. And I think that now, 34 years after the revolution and change of the regime, that I hope or I feel that that the speculum is going back into the middle from the second extreme, and that we are starting to be able to have a discussion with not so much emotions. Yeah, and it's the same thing with the transport problems, with architecture, with aesthetics, with politics, with public sector's role, etc., etc., etc.
Do you think that there's too much emotion attached to it?
Yes,
or to the discussion?
Definitely. Yeah. Unfortunately, there is this 25 years or 30 years old argument that if you say something which would require more public activity or anything, then you are communist. Dot. End of discussion. You know, this is communism. We go away from that, and it's been really tiring. And I think we should be way over it. I understand that it was in 2000 or 1998. Okay, understand, but now we should really move forward and leave that behind us.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely something about acknowledging the past and being aware of it and the history, but to stay stuck in it really does nothing for progress or the future. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, being able to find a middle ground, which seems probably much harder to do. And so you said that you now can look at projects that maybe you didn't at first appreciate or understand. And the more that you learned about them, you could see why they were the way that they were. Do you have any projects of your own or of the studio that maybe you weren't so happy about at first, or maybe that you really liked and now are like, oh no?
The second way. Yeah. Actually, with your own work, it works the other way, that you like it in the first, and then after time has passed, then you can see some flaws and some naivety, and that it was not so perfect as you thought. So it's not that I would do something which I would thought it's bad, because the thing is that if I'm or we as a studio if we put something out, it's 110% from our side. We never publish something that we wouldn't be absolutely happy
Proud of,
about.
yeah.
Yeah. So then it can go only lower. You can't go better. But in most of the project, it stays.
Stays the same.
It stays the same on 100%. I can think of one or maybe two competition entries, or maybe 4 or 5 competition entries. We are learning a lot through architectural competitions. So looking back, I can see that we really didn't do the best job we could, or that we just didn't understand it so well. So the design for the competition was not perfect. We never win those competitions, which I don't like. So it's fine.
Yeah. This might be kind of a silly question, but these architecture competitions, like there's some proposal or some idea, and a bunch of different studios or architects submit their idea, and then they select a winner, right? Is that kind of
basically? Yeah. There is a lot of different competitions in the means how they work. You can have absolutely public and anonymous competition, where easily said any architect can submit a design, and then it happens that you have, for example, 60 designs or something like that. If you have really huge international architectural competitions, for example, for the opera in Sydney or Guggenheim museums, it's hundreds of design from all over the world. So the competition is enormous, and even to win from 5 or 6 competitors, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can ask the tennis players. They are playing 1 against 1, and still you have not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really not easy to win, but it's a great tool, and I'm really glad that this tool is being used more and more, and it should be even more, because the competition used the right way really shows you the good solutions.
Yeah. I mean, as an American, I think we really appreciate competition and the benefits that can come from it. But I would say that in general, that the field of architecture is very competitive because there are many, and these projects seem like long term, slow, so it's not fast turnover. So would you say that there are way more architects than there is needed, or do we have the perfect amount?
I always think that there is not enough architects.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that there should be more architects, because architectural education generally I think is great. It should be much better, and there is a lot of to criticize about architectural education in Czech Republic, and I would be first to do that, definitely. But as in general, the principles of architectural education are great, because they teach you to understand a lot of things. They teach you to think in projects, to put a lot of different parameters together and create something from that. So it gives you a unique way of thinking generally, and that is very useful in many other jobs than just architectural designer.
Yeah.
You can go to public sector, you can go to politics, you can work in a lot of private sector companies on different positions with architectural education, because you have a good way of thinking. And if I had a business company, I wouldn't mind hiring architect instead of someone who has a economics university. Yeah, because the way, of course, for a specific position, think about it. But I think that the more architects, the better, because the understanding of the built environment is really low in the society, and it's really crucial. Considering sustainability, the growing of the cities, the shrinking of the cities, the neglected spaces, the work with the buildings. So the more people understand this, and we are speaking about it as almost everyone know that 40% of the CO2 production is bind in buildings and their construction and their management and everything. So yeah, I think that the architecture shouldn't be understood as only designing, as this like godlike designer creating the amazing art, but more as a responsible service to society, which can be represented in much more different ways than just design.
Yeah, I was actually thinking after I finished my master's that, so, I have a degree in neuroscience. I studied a lot of things about biobehavioral health and the social sciences. And then I studied art, specifically photography, but it was much more broad than this. And then I was considering going into a PhD program where I was going to be looking at the built environment of psychiatric wards or hospitals. I did a project last year on Bohnica. And this, for me, I knew that I could come at these problems from a science point of view and an artistic point of view. And I was interested to learn more about the architect side, which I guess is kind of the science and creativity mixed together. But like I said, I don't have a background in architecture, so there was going to be a lot of, I think, missing pieces. But
yeah, speaking about this, we have done a lot of projects for mentally ill people, and there should be two housing from winning the competitions starting to being built in a few months, I hope. And then we did some other competitions for people with dementia or stuff like that. So we were kind of getting into this discipline, and it's really interesting to try to understand the clients, the people who are actually living there, that you are not creating a hospital. You have to create a home for them. They have absolutely different needs. And if you are architect, you need to understand that and create a specific environment for them and really have the client on the first place, because it's not for the doctors, it's for the people who for whom it is home actually. And this is extremely important. And in the Czech Republic there is still a lot of huge hospital like buildings or accommodations for these people. And now it's getting better, and the policies are changing, and the architecture goes a long way. There are being competitions for the elderly, for the mentally ill people, etc., etc. So I'm glad, and it's extremely important field that you were into and interesting.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of aspects that go into it, but it seems definitely a worthwhile endeavor. And so maybe I will revisit it in the future, but I really just needed a break from school. I was really tired, and I couldn't imagine going into a PhD program for 5 years. And well, at least in the US, they're usually 5 years. And to just be broke and stressed for like 5 more years. So, but it's still something that I'm really interested in. And I think my background, I could offer maybe different perspective.
Yeah.
Architecture has or requires a bunch of different kinds of skills and knowledge and background. And so since you did another degree in international business and engineering.
Yes.
Yeah. So how would you say that's helped or complemented your skills as an architect?
I think that in the first place, it gave me much wider perspective or a different one. Speaking about practical stuff, it's always good to know something about accounting. to know the terms. If you are leading a firm, then it really helps.
Mhm.
It's fine. But on the other hand, the most important for me was to see the perspective of the economists,
Yeah.
because they are shaping this world a lot.
Mhm.
They are the investors, they are the clients. These are the people who made a lot of important decisions, and you kind of see the politics which through they are looking at the world. And of course, there was a lot of extremely interesting subject about political regionalism and stuff like that, which was truly fascinating, and it was a good experience.
Mhm.
Of course, when looking back, you could say, okay, I could read more about architecture, understand more theory and everything, but it's just, I guess, kind of my personal thing that I'm like, I have a really wide palette of interests.
Yeah, me too. I have always been like this my whole life. I've tried so many different things, hobbies, sports, instruments, and in a way I'm very grateful that I had a family that was able to give me these opportunities
Mhm.
and that I had them, because like I said, I think it really shapes the way that I'm able to think and hopefully empathize with
Mhm.
people from different places and backgrounds. But I also kind of wish that my mom would have just, put me in gymnastics and made me go every single day and I was an Olympian, I kind of wish that I would have had maybe some more clarity on exactly what I wanted to do and not so zigzaggy kind of way.
That's the problem, because you can have one or another, but not both. But I absolutely understand the dilemma. And just to add to the previous question, the studying of economics, what it gave me was kind of some presentation skills,
Mhm.
because on this university it was taught a lot.
Yeah.
And then the engineering degree, that was great. That now I can really understand when I'm in a conversation with static, with I don't have the perfect terms in English, but with engineers generally, that I understand what they are telling me.
Yeah, that's
I wouldn't
very
be I
useful.
wouldn't be able to draw it or really make it or design it, but that's not my role. But I really do understand them. So that's again the part, as I was speaking in the beginning, that you know a little bit
About
of everything.
yeah.
So the diplomacy skills from economics really help. For example, when you are speaking with clients and and communicating again.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, when you were talking about how you said that you think that there should be more architects or that there aren't enough, or that we can people should still keep studying architecture. I'm sure that this has created a lot of, again, like we were talking about, competition. And it reminds me of one of my friends who is an architect here in Prague. And I think she's probably maybe a few years out of school and is working for a studio. And she helped redesign, I think it was a bar or a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And she went to the opening night because she said that's what you do and you are social and you enjoy the evening. But it was kind of funny to her that she could barely afford to be at the opening of the place that she designed. And so it seems like there is a lot of maybe work to be done, or a discussion to be had about the rights of architects, wages. And I wonder why you think that is. Is it because there is so much competition? Is it oversaturated? Is it because how society is set up? Like you said, that some people don't really appreciate architecture.
Okay, there is so many layers and so many questions in this one question. Right. Okay, so I will try to go around it and maybe go back and forth with it a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Generally, the problem is on the both sides of supply and demand of architecture. The supply is the competition, a lot of architects, but I think that's a healthy thing. And with the architectural degree, you can always go do something else. You won't die from hunger. You will be fine. So that's fair enough for me, and you will just go somewhere else. The second thing is the demand for architecture, which is really not high, and which is our as a society, and then as a society of architects, which is our task and our goal to raise this, because there is not enough support for architecture from the public sector, which should be the leader, which should set up the standards of a built environment and everything. So that's one thing of the economics of architecture, let's say. Then the personal thing with your friend, that happens to architects a lot. That for that you are designing something which you could never afford, and that's part of the business somehow. But again, the doctor is always also healing someone who is extremely rich, and he will never be. And the rich person wouldn't survive without the doctor. Yeah, okay, that happens. And such is life. On the other hand, the bigger problem, we also designed a few venues where we have to save up a little bit to go to, and we definitely can't go there for dinner every single night. So that's fair enough for me. The bigger problem than the drink in the bar or the expensive dinner is that a lot of people would tell you that 2 years after university, if there is a man architect and woman architect as partners living together, that they would tell you that they can't afford to have children together, and that they are struggling to pay the rent. And they can have a perfect portfolio, work in a great architectural firm, but the money are not so great. And one of the problems is that we do care a lot about architecture, and we are.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. that's our problem. That's our problem with the economics of it, because we do care about it so much that we are doing more than we are asked for. If and I don't mean no offense, but if I compare it with, for example, civil engineers, they do not really care. And I don't really mean it bad, but they got the business and they just create it. They just do it, got paid and everything. We, for example, do these competitions, which you do in 90% of time for free, because you need to get the job, which you don't get in 95%. And second, for example, you want the prestige. You want to do something amazing. You are doing overnight because you want to have a great project in your portfolio. It's not just about doing the job, it's about giving it much more.
Yeah.
And that's both the plus and minus, because it's the beautiful thing about architecture and the interesting thing that you are giving it so much from yourself. But on the other hand, it has this dark side, where if you push it too much, then it can be you don't get paid enough. And it's fair enough if you are doing this to yourself. Let's say fair enough, maybe not even. But the worst thing is when you are misusing it against your colleagues, and you are not paying them enough, because you're saying, hey, you are doing this amazing prestigious projects and you should really give it your best, and not paid overtimes and stuff like that comes to the connects all together.
Yeah.
And that creates the problematic conditions,
which they could feel is maybe, toxicity usually breeds toxicity. So it's probably because they also grew up in this environment, and so they don't necessarily look at it as bad, but just how things are. And so if you care about architecture as much as I cared about architecture, then you'll just suck it up and keep going.
Exactly. And now there is this really interesting paradigm shift happening. When I was in the high school, it was really the hustle culture, really go hard or go home, and all-nighters and everything.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's not happening now, but 1 or 2 years ago, there started a movement on the Czech universities. Stop clicking and go sleep, it's called. And really the students they did a huge research among other students, like quite legit research. And they found out that the people are getting burned out, that they are really not happy, they are depressed, they can't have hobbies and everything. You can of course say, oh, these are snowflakes and da 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 da. But I think it's definitely a legit problem to speak
definitely.
about, and it's being spoken of, and I think it's great, and it's slowly changing, and you can now see the change in generations from my generation 10 years ago to the new generation now. How you approach the school, or even if you approach it the same, the fact that you are speaking about it, that you are saying it's a thing, it's actually a thing, let's at least acknowledge it, that it's happening, that changes your mind and you are looking at it differently, because we all have one life and we don't want to have a heart attack at 50 or be burned out at 40 and stop working for half a year to get together at least a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the awareness is where it starts and it's needed. But, it can't just be like a small group of architects thinking this way. You would really have to change the culture. Say there is a group that says, yeah, we want to be able to work from 9 to 5 and go home and see our families and have enough time and money to go on vacation and do all these things. But if they're competing against people that are never going to bed and aren't having families just so they can work, I don't know how you would ever succeed.
The thing is that there is not so many people like that, and on the other hand, it's not in a long term. In long term, it's not sustainable. You can't work like that. And on the other hand, it's your price you are willing to pay. And then if you give a lot of effort and a lot of energy, and then you have a well-deserved success, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm absolutely okay with that. But I think that the most important thing is to have the choice, to understand that you have a choice. You don't have to do it like that. Yeah. And the problem was that a few years ago, the culture and the paradigm was that you have to do that. If you don't do that, it's wrong and you shouldn't do it. But you should be able to work in architecture and don't burn out in 5 years. Yeah, that seems like a reasonable thing to hope for. But I really hope that it's a true shift, because, at least, and I do recognize that the US and, for example, Czech Republic are quite different places in terms of mentality, which is why I live here. But in the US, you have these companies that are like unlimited PTO or like paid time off. You can work from home whenever you want. But in my very pessimistic brain, I'm just thinking about how they don't really mean it, the company has unlimited paid time off, but no one in the company is actually taking it. And it's more about the culture. And on their marketing materials or their website, they're able to say that they have these benefits, but no one will take advantage of them because they don't feel comfortable enough to do that. So, but I mean, in general, also a very general statement, I think that at least the Czechs that I know or have met
They appreciate their getaway time in nature on the weekends or going to the cottage or having vacation. And so at least I think society and culture here is a little bit different. And so maybe it would more allow for this shift.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I have nothing to add. No, but maybe one thing that it's from the general thing, it always comes down to the specific person, specific management.
Yeah.
And you can always state something, but then you have to act according to it. And you can have amazing advertorials or whatever that you are amazing and you have these conditions and these conditions, and then you have to fulfill it. And if you don't do that, and then you see how toxic or non-toxic the environment is.
Mm-hmm.
If you can have whistleblowers there, or if you can speak up, if you can communicate about your conditions.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think, the whole thing that this podcast is about is being proactive and entrepreneurship and like going and getting what you want and doing what you want to do, which I think there's nothing wrong with that. But to, I think, recognize that if you want to do what you want for as long as you can, then there has to be some, at least in my opinion, preservation of self. You have to realize that even if it's your passion or it's something you want to do forever, you'll burn out. It's inevitable. So I am always interested in how people kind of overcome this or navigate that. So maybe we can end on maybe slightly, I don't know, might get philosophical, but maybe a more practical question. What does your day or week look like? I know you seem very busy. So how do you manage it all?
I'm still trying to find a way. But if I take it a little bit back to your some of the sentences you said before about the burning out and everything, I was on the edge on that because I'm a classical yes man and I'm really interested in everything. Yeah. And I love all the positions of architecture and different roles. So 1-2 years ago, I was leading the studio. I was contributing to some books and editing some books, writing texts, doing my PhD, and working on the Venice Biennale.
Oh, which I also want you to tell us about when you're done.
Yeah, and working on all of this at one time, somehow I realized that I was really getting somewhere to the point of no return. So then I realized this, and I interrupted my PhD for some time. I hope I will get back to it, but first I have to do some thinking and planning and to create some strategy. And now I kind of stopped my activities around. So now I'm not writing anything or studying PhD or something. I'm just focusing on our own studio and reading and thinking and kind of creating the plan. So that was for the burning out and taking care of self. So I'm really glad I realized this. And regarding the routine, generally, I'm working 9 to 6 to 7 every working day. And then I have some kind of a second shift on in the evening or on the weekend when I'm thinking about other projects, reading, preparing some stuff, drawing. But now it's kind of not like that I come home and I start writing, which I was used to do before. But no, it's more like planning. But definitely
somehow it still sounds like you're working all day. But you promise you're taking a break.
I'm trying not to. I'm trying to have different activities, and I am definitely going more out, doing sports and everything. It really helps, and it's better because when you are happy, then the thinking is better when you sleep well, when you eat well. So trying to take better care of myself. But definitely, I am not at the point that I would say, yes, I have a wonderful system working for me, and I could give any advice to anyone. Definitely not there. Still searching for it.
Yeah. Well, I think again, everyone has their own boundaries or limits, or some people, they derive all of their happiness from their work. So I'm not going to say that that's wrong, because that's just an option.
Definitely, it's a big part
Yeah.
for me, because somehow to define my role in the world, in the society, and as I define architecture for myself as the responsible reflecting of the world and contributing to it, you can't just do it from 9 to 5. But I love it, and that's fair enough for me.
So you helped create the architecture of the exhibition for the Biennale in Venice this year.
Yes.
That's so cool. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about what it's like, and how did you get the opportunity? I don't know how it works exactly.
Yeah. So to start from the most important part, our topic was working conditions in architecture, as we were discussing it before. And as I got in, it happened that there started a discussion, I think 2019 or 2020, about working conditions in architecture, which sparked really a debate in the Czech architectural bubble. And I was at that time, I was quite active in this discussion. And we had some kind of movement and discussions and everything, and a huge action in camp, which I was moderating. And I wrote some articles about it, etc., etc. And then the COVID came, and we all had really different problems. And then I kind of continued to work on my own teaching and studio and everything. But then Eliška Pomijová and Karolina Plášková, who are both connected with architecture a lot, and they kept the topic and kept working with it. They applied for the open call from National Gallery with this topic of working conditions in architecture to the Venice Biennale 2023, and alongside with motion designer Jan Neuhäusl, they have been chosen, or the topic have been chosen. And then I wouldn't go deep in the process. But because we don't have a place and time for that, but then I came part of the team, and I was doing then the exhibition with Eliška Pomijová and Jan Neuhäusl. So I was with Eliška, I was working on the concept. Eliška was working with all the texts and the data. Then, of course, I was specifically working with the architecture of the exhibition and the design of it. And Jan was responsible for all the audiovisual content. But of course, we are working as a team, so it's a holistic concept of the exhibition. Nevertheless, the main question which we are asking in this exhibition, which is, by the way, still open 1 month, so you can go to Venice and see it for yourself, or at least go to the website of National Gallery, where you can read a lot of data about it. Nevertheless, the main question is, how do we want to change the world if we can't even change our own working conditions? So, to start with ourselves. And what we were trying to do was to be really data based and objectified set of information about this topic. So we didn't want to be purely emotional and purely radical and just protesting. we wanted to look at what is happening now, then why it is happening. So we were researching the causes of the current state, and then how we can make it better. So we were also looking into possible solutions, which is maybe interesting part. We have divided it into 3 parts: individual, collective, and systemic. Because as one wise guy said once, if we are doing something as individuals, it will not be enough. If we are waiting for the system to change, we can wait the whole time, but we have to act collectively. But of course, it means that we also have to be individual active and try to change the system. But if we don't put our hands together and try to do something, we won't change it. And this exhibition is a manifestation of that.
Great. Well, I don't know if I will be able to go to Venice, though I would love to, but I will definitely check it out on the website.
Okay.
Well, I think that we covered a lot of topics today, and I would like if you could go home somewhat early today and maybe just relax. So
Okay.
we can wrap up, and thank you so much for joining us.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for the invitation and very nice conversation. Thank you.
Yep. See you next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Miners Coffee Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and join us next time as we talk coffee, entrepreneurship, success, and urban lifestyle.